Welcome to my bewitching podcast, where I take you on a journey to initiate you into the mysteries and pleasures of all things magical and more. I'm Julie Nelson, Rich Witch, botanical perfumer, astrologer, and creator of the Fragrant Oracle. I'll discuss a myriad of topics passionately on women rising unapologetically, witchcraft, including spells, rituals, insightful astrology updates, and oracle card readings. I'll also introduce you to special guests who share their bountiful knowledge and experience in the art of witchcraft, the intuitive and healing arts, and being wildly unapologetic. Hello and welcome back to the Rich Witch podcast. This is Julie Nelson speaking. And today I feel very honored to have a lady. I know that this is the first time we have seen each other face to face because I'm doing this on Zoom, even though it'll just be a audio recording. Melanie Howarth, and I'm going to get her to introduce herself to you in a minute. But it's so lovely to have that face-to-face connection. And actually, it was when we were going through COVID and everybody turned to Clubhouse. That's how we connected. And we had some great chats, but we could never see each other. So now we have, and it's fabulous. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Mel, and introduce yourself. And of course, as always, contact links and information will be down in the notes. I've forgotten what I normally call them, but below the recording, and so you can connect in with either of us anytime. And today I'll just give you a heads up. We're going to be talking about dreams, and I'm going to use a couple of my wild wacky ones because I have had wild wacky ones ever since I was a child, and I remember lots of them. So, and some of them are quite horrifying, actually. But Mel, take a moment to introduce yourself, lovely.
It's my Alexa going off. It's really good to be here, Julie. Thank you for inviting me, and it's lovely to see you. Having the visuals, it really adds something to our conversation. And yeah, I'm really excited to talk about dreams. So I do a number of things, but I'm primarily a tarot reader. I do a therapeutic type of tarot. I also do dream work. I do other kinds of psychic work, and I do holistic health as well. So a number of things, but to me, they're all quite synchronistic. They all sort of tie in with one another in different ways.
Well, I find that a lot of us that work in this realm of natural healing and divination and many other things, even my perfumery, I've got a few things in my toolbox as well, and we can so easily blend them together
Absolutely.
as easily as we can doing them on their own. So it's fantastic. It's fantastic. So now let's get into dreams. Do you want to give us a little bit of a description? You hear a lot of different things about dreams. I tend to take notice of what I dream rather than looking for, a snake means something or this and that. So just, yeah, let's hear your version.
Okay, so I guess if I was working to a system of any kind, it would be most closely aligned with Jungian interpretation. But I absolutely love dreams because it's a way of our subconscious mind talking to us,
Mm.
and our higher self talking to us, our primal self talking to us. There's so many messages that we can get. And, from a sort of metaphysical point of view, who's to say that our waking reality is any less real than our sleeping reality? Um,
Mm.
it's a really interesting thing, because when you start delving into the archetypes and the symbolism, they're showing up in a very similar way in our waking reality as well. So I feel that examining the symbolism and archetypes in our dreams really brings an extra dimension in our waking reality too. Um, but it really is, for me, it's a therapeutic tool. It shows what's happening in a person's inner self, and it's the stuff that they may not be consciously aware of.
Mhm.
Um, it's bringing everything to the surface, and it really is kind of our psyche saying, here, look at this needs healing quite often, or this is fun. Sometimes it's not always, about being serious and healing. Sometimes it is just enjoyment and pleasure. So dreams for me are a real window into the whole person, because it says so much more about a person.
I get that. So this is going to be interesting, and I love how you actually spoke about that so clearly and easy to understand for those that may not do it. Now, I absolutely remember dreams that I had as a child, and I'm one that can have repeating dreams. And
Yes.
there's a particular one, and sometimes it's different themes. But there's always, like, this is the thing. When I was a very little girl, I used to dream that there was this man, but he was a human, but he also was like, he had I'm going to say almost like gorilla features as well.
Hmm.
Always in a trench coat, always with a hat, and always following me. And it wasn't something that disturbed me, but I was always fascinated. And it did frighten me a little, but it wasn't something that affected me in my daily life that I can remember. But I've had similar my whole life, where now he was following me, but I've long had dreams where somebody is trying to kill me, or harm my daughter since I've had my daughter. And I'm always in this warrior like mode, protection, and it's like kill or be killed. And it's pretty heavy sometimes. Like I wake up and go, what the fuck? Where did that come from? And I am quite a warrior woman in real life. And yeah, just they're all different. I mean, I can go into more detail with some of them where we've had to line up in some of them and go through turnstile gates. And as we go through there, part machinery is put into us, like they harvest our organs, and then just weird stuff. And then it's like, I am not going through this, or I'm always running and hiding and getting away, or there's people chasing me, trying to kill me, like really, like with guns or swords. Or so what do you think of that first?
All right, just a few things to start off with. Okay, so I find the being followed dream really interesting. So recurring dreams, there's usually some sort of lesson or realization that we need to come we need to find out. And once we know it, we don't have that dream anymore. Once we've resolved that dream goes away. Um, so recurring dreams are really interesting because it's like, no, you need to pay attention to this. And this is why it comes up again and again and again. So when I think about what you've described, first of all, the trench coat and the it's like in my mind's eye, I'm seeing it sort of as a trilby kind of hat. Would that be right?
Yeah, like the old, yeah,
And
like the
it gives me, it's like the, you know, it's
detective.
a very cliche sort of film noir detective that's following
Yes,
you.
yes.
Um, it's it's about privacy and intrusion into your privacy. And then
Mm.
the fact that it's a man, but it's not exactly a man. It's there's a sort of ape-like quality to it. And so it's really talking about the masculine, but in a very primitive form. And so the dream in itself, you're not in danger, but there is there's kind of a threat there. There's an
Mm.
intrusion. There's and actually I think this is about your I mean, from I've known you, you've always been a staunch feminist,
Mm.
and this is that reaction to patriarchy, how it intrudes on our life, how it follows you, how it's based on something very primitive and very masculine. And I think that that's what that dream is about.
I love that, and it actually does make sense. And I know that when things keep coming up, that there is stuff that needs either healing or learning. So I really get that, and I've looked deeply into it. And even with you saying that, even with the ones as I've matured, and it's almost like I'm constantly fighting that patriarchy. And I talk a lot about how outdated our systems are and how much they need breaking down. So they're chasing me, but the thing is that I can always turn around and face them, and I usually win. They
Yeah.
they never actually get to harm me.
Well, the second part of what you were saying, which wasn't so much a recurring dream, it was more a theme that's repeated. It's the anxiety dream.
Mm,
And it's very, very common for parents, particularly mothers, to have anxiety dreams around their children.
makes
Um,
sense.
and it is, it's our primal need to know that our babies are safe. And
Yeah.
so it comes up in our dreams as anxiety and worry. You know, if we've had worry about what will happen to my child, are they going to be okay? How are they going to handle school? Whatever it is that's going on, that will show up as a dream. And in that dream, there will be some sort of threat. In the dream, it might be a monster, a lion, you know, something chasing you. But in fact, it might be the bills. It might be issues with school friends. It could be, um, you know, their health. It could be any sort of thing, but it's representative of a threat to your child. And so, yeah, that's what that is. It's sort of a parental anxiety dream, and they're very, very common. Sometimes people get worried and they think, oh, does this mean something bad is going to happen to my child? Not at all. It really just means I have anxiety over my child's welfare.
And
And
and I do, and I don't know if you remember or how much you know that my daughter was born with two life-threatening
I do
conditions.
remember.
And so, she's had lots of operations, and I always figured that the part where they wanted to replace body parts and that was related to that. But
Yeah.
it was like also about being controlled, and it was like, no, you're not going to do that to us. So
Yes.
fighting the
I mean,
systems and trusting.
even though it's symbolic, sometimes our dreams are quite literal,
Yes,
you know, surprisingly literal.
yes,
Um, when you kind of break it down and think about it, you're like, oh, that makes sense. You know, it's sometimes it really makes me laugh because it is so literal to what we're experiencing in our waking reality.
yeah.
But we've talked about recurring dreams, we've talked about anxiety dreams, but there's so many others. So you've got lucid dreaming, you've got visitation dreams, where we might have a loved one on the other side or a guardian of some sort or guide visit us and connect with us. Um,
I want to
oh, what else?
talk about both of those because
Yeah.
I experienced them.
Oh,
So
amazing.
yeah, so let's go into lucid dreams first. And
Mm,
also, you know, when you're in a, we could probably talk about this for ages. You know, when
please.
you're in a dream, and in that
Yeah.
dream you go into another dream, and you know that you are
Yeah.
like that. I actually really like those dreams, and also where you wake up and you can go immediately back in to the same dream where you left off.
I absolutely love when that happens, but more often I'm left with the frustration of trying to and not being able to.
Yeah, if I try or then it doesn't happen, does it? But there's times where I've done it 2 or 3 times a night.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
and then the next day I think, God, that was so good, and like, how do I do that? Yeah. Anyway, there's a few things for you to address there.
When you sort of realize that I mean, lucid dreaming just means you are lucid in the dream. It means that you're aware that you are dreaming.
Mm,
And for some people, it's a little disconcerting and they don't really know what to do with it. And other people go, hey, I can do anything. And for me, the most amazing lucid dream that I've ever had, I went flying. And it was
Oh,
an absolutely exhilarating and liberating dream. It was like one of the best dreams I've ever had. Um, but lucid dreams for some people are incredibly easy, and for other people, they're quite difficult.
mm,
But there are practices you can do, there are exercises you can do to practice lucid dreaming. And lucid dreaming is often seen as tied to astral projection.
mm-hmm,
Uh,
mm-hmm.
the ways that they recommend of getting to a point of being able to astral project is learning to lucid dream.
Okay, can I comment on that then?
Please
So
do.
I've been flying in my dreams ever since I was a little girl. I first used to fly off our veranda into the garden, and I loved it. And of course, I don't know if you'd remember, you might not be old enough, but I used to love a show called The Flying Nun with Sally Fields, where she was a nun that had this special hat and she could take off.
Yeah.
So I went, and of course, many of my dreams when I'm flying are on a broomstick, and they are so real. And I get really pissed off when I realize that the flight part has finished. I can't fly anymore. Like, that's it for that.
No.
Yeah, I know, but it feels like it's going for hours, and I fly through the city. But I've also when I was it was around 20, my latest couple of years of my teens and 20, I often used to fly around, and I was flying around Sydney, and there were people with me, and I swear it was real, and I would wake up feeling so exhilarated and so excited. And often with my dreams when I'm flying as a witch, I'm
Yes.
like that too. I love it. And I want to go, it's just like, I want to dream this, but it won't happen when you really try to make it happen for me. So there's perhaps at the end of this, you could give us a few tips.
Well, I want to sort of talk about a difference in quality of dream as well.
Mm,
Sometimes we have dreams and we know that they're dreams. Sometimes we wake up from a dream and there was just a quality to it that was so incredibly vivid and real. And it's very markedly different to the other more mundane dreams.
yes,
And to me, those dreams, we have been in the astral plane.
that's what I
They
believe.
are very different. And you will know when you've had one of those because quite often they're life-changing dreams. They've got a different quality to them that is very symbolic, often deeply spiritual. Um, and you just know there was something different about that dream because the it's the intensity, it's the vividness, there's just something else about it that you know isn't the same as your usual bog standard dream. And
Yeah,
that's like what you're describing.
yeah. And I love it. And that feeling, it's just like, oh, I want to go back to sleep and go back there where it's like, yeah, powerful. And so what else was there? I love this. There was the,
What is nightmares?
oh,
Uh,
yeah, that would be good
that-
to talk to. But we also, there was the lucid dreaming, and then there was the,
what did I say now?
it'll come back.
It
Talk
will
about
come back.
Talk about the nightmares. I've had many of those in my life as well. Even now, like I wake up like,
Well, there's so many reasons that we can have nightmares. A lot of people will put nightmares down to eating certain foods before they fall asleep.
mm-hmm,
You
mm-hmm,
ate this, you ate that. And there might be an element of that, but usually it's our subconscious fears, it's our anxieties, our fears, our stresses. And they play out on the dream plane. So
mm-hmm,
when people are governed by high levels of stress, our minds are trying to process all that when we actually rest. Um, so again, like I was saying, we might be in our waking reality being chased by bills or a stressful situation at work or um, a problem with a family member. And then we go to sleep and it's some nameless fear or monster or
mm,
terror situation. It's just as important to pick apart the nightmares and see what it is that's driving our fears so that we can heal them, so that we can face them, so that we can make them less damaging. But there could be other reasons as well. So, for example, a lot of people around menopause might have more nightmares, and it's because there's an amping up of anxiety that comes from a hormonal imbalance.
yeah,
So, our physiology as well is having an impact on our dream quality.
yeah. I fucking loved going through menopause. I called it in. So there was no nightmares there for me. But even if I do have what I consider a really bad dream, I more wake up and think, what the fuck, and then I try to analyze it, but I don't go around. It doesn't cause me grief, only when I'm in that dream, which is good, perhaps. And as you're speaking this, it's going, okay, well, that makes sense because some of the awful dreams I was having recently, I mean, I've had so much stress. I almost didn't have a place to live in, and that kind of thing, which I can relate to. And I'm pretty good at, you know, um, working things out. But having somebody like you speak all of this totally, totally makes sense. And what about little ones like children? You know how they can have the night terrors?
Yes. Well, night terrors is slightly different, and
Mm,
there are sleep specialists who will deal with that. But nightmares generally, for whether adult or child, are to do with fears. And if you think of
mm,
that being a very young person, our fears are magnified because
mm-hmm.
there's so much of the world that we don't understand. And we're much more sensitive to the spiritual realm as well. So we may be aware that there's an area of that dark hallway when we have to go to the bathroom that we don't like. We may be aware that there is energies around us that feel unpleasant or uncomfortable. And when we're asleep, we're equally more sensitive as very young people to those energies, and we haven't necessarily built up the defenses or the detachment that adults do.
Mm.
And they're tuned in. Little ones are tuned in to the spiritual realm in their waking reality as much as their sleeping reality, and so they are more susceptible. And so there are things that you can do, um, but they're more, for me, I would say they're more within the realm of managing anxiety in children when they're awake, but then also spiritual protection as well,
Yeah.
uh, because there
So
is that dimension.
beautiful. And I kind of remembered what I've written it down, but I just want to say something about that. So this would have been easy 2 decades ago when I was teaching aromatherapy at Nature Care College, where I used to teach lecture. And because I was known as the aromatherapist, people always got sent to me because I also worked in the shop there as the buyer and the aromatherapy advisor, because we had a big shop in the college. And I remember so well this young woman coming in, and she was so concerned about her little one who was having nightmares. And I remember, like, immediately, and I used to make dream catchers, not that I didn't have any then, but I remember saying to her, like, we had a chat and she was telling me all about him. It was a little boy. And I even remember she had an orange dress on and blonde hair. Anyway, I told her the story of dream catchers. And so I said, why don't you place one above his bed and tell him the story that they will catch the bad dreams and that nothing can hurt him. And before that, have this little foot massage with patchouli and mandarin, because patchouli is good for protection and it's a safe oil to use. So is, I mean, mandarin's a joyful oil and it's safe to use on little ones. Anyway, she came back a couple of weeks later and was excited because her son hadn't had any nightmares, and she had been doing that, and she explained about the dream catcher, and then that, I believe that if we can tell them the stories and then that tactile, massaging the feet and helping him to feel safe and all of that is very powerful. So I just felt to share that. I'm not sure how much of each was impacted. Perhaps it was perhaps as simple as telling the story, and then the other things were like tools to use to support that and enhance it. But it was a beautiful outcome.
It really is. And I would say it probably was the combination of factors, because you've got, and we share a passion for essential oils because we're both aromatherapists.
Yeah,
Um, but regulating the little one's nervous system,
exactly.
story, giving him a sense of being protected, um, and just that sort of calming down beforehand. But
Mm.
actually, it's reminded me of some herbs I want to talk about. Um,
Do.
there's a number of things that they can help with. So sometimes people struggle with dream recall, and they're like, I'd really love to explore my dreams, but I never remember them.
Don't you? I remember pretty much
I
all
would,
of
no,
mine.
some people. I'm not me. I
Oh,
love my
sorry.
dreams, but there's a lot of people who just say, I can't work with my dreams. I never remember them, or they
Mhm.
say I don't dream, and I say you definitely do dream, because we all dream. We go through REM sleep and different stages, and there are dream cycles that we have, and everybody has these. But the recall can be very tricky. So ginkgo biloba, which is good for memory and recall, can be very helpful in recalling
Yes.
dreams. And one that's really good for recall potential and a good sleep, and actually helping us with our dreaming and making that dreaming slightly more vivid, is guayusa tea.
I use
Which
it.
is, guayusa tea is a herbal tea from the Amazon. Absolutely herbal. It has no contraindications that I'm aware of, and it can be very helpful. For it, they actually call it dream tea, so
Wow.
that's what I recommend. And then for some people, it's not going to be for everyone, but Blue Lotus is supposed to be very helpful with dreams as well.
I love Blue Lotus. I love it
Yeah.
as tea and an oil.
And then some people say, well, I don't really dream because I don't really sleep properly. I get a lot of insomnia. And so if you're not having good quality sleep, you're not going to have good quality dreams. So as you will know, lavender can be really helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Chamomile. Um, clary sage can help with vivid dreams. And
Yes.
these can be used, like lavender can be put into a little sleep pillow that's put under the pillow. And when I say sleep pillow, it's not like a big fluffy pillow. It's just like a little bag of
Wheat
herbs.
pack or something.
yeah, that you put under your pillow, and then you're breathing in the
Mm,
herb, usually with hops. Hops is really good at inducing sleep. It's slightly sedative. Passion flower can be drunk as a
yes.
tea.
Yeah.
Lime flower, um, and valerian, which also helps deepen sleep. And these
Valerian
herbs
knocks you out. Yeah.
in different ways. But for people who really struggle with insomnia and aren't dreaming very well or recalling their dreams because they don't have much sleep, these can be really helpful.
That's fantastic. So that's really interesting because I am an insomniac, and I thought that was why I always remember my dreams. I don't
But
know.
then there's also another aspect to remembering your dreams, and that's intention. Uh,
Yes.
when you set an intention to work with your dreams, you set an intention to have a dream, and you make a point of in the morning recalling that dream, it becomes habitual and you will remember your dreams. I
Mm.
often suggest that people record their dreams, and it can be writing it down, but for some people, the act of picking up a pen and a notebook or a phone to do that very act will kind of stop the dream recall. So if you
Hmm.
share a home with someone else, tell them the dream as soon as you see them. I had this amazing dream. The act of telling someone will help you keep it in your mind. Some people can write it down, and some people could just do like a little voice memo and just speak it. But if you can record your dreams, and sometimes people don't remember the dream, but they might remember a color or a feeling or something that isn't like a fully formed dream, but a snippet or an image, write it down and then do the same the next day and the next day. And eventually you're training your brain to say,
Hmm.
"Oh, those dreams aren't a thing that I throw away, they're valuable to me."
Love
And
that.
then it comes more fully formed.
Yeah. And I love it too if, I mean, sometimes I don't remember my dreams, but it's actually quite rare. As a child, I've always remembered dreams. Um, but I love it when I'm actually doing something. And I thought, oh my God, this was in my dream the other night, or oh, this reminded me of a dream. But I actually do things that I've done in a dream, which
So
it kind of excites me.
it's like two different things that you're talking about there. So
Mhm.
kind of got like a dream deja vu thing
Yes,
happening.
there's the deja vu.
And then there's the prophetic dreams where you dream a thing and then it happens.
Mm, mm,
Um, both are, again, quite common. I mean, we all have psychic gifts, and for people who maybe repress those gifts a little bit, it might show up on their dreams more. Um, and again, children can come up with the most insightful dreams that then happen.
mm,
Um, so my daughter, this is some years ago now, but she woke up one morning and said, well, I live in London, which is very much a city, and it's not coastal particularly. But she woke up and she said, Mum, I had a dream that we went to the beach, and she named a very specific place in the UK.
mm.
And I thought, oh, that's nice. And when she was little, I'd taken her there a few times. So I thought it was kind of like a memory type dream.
Right.
And I had a call that same morning, about maybe an hour later, saying I booked a trip to go to that same place, that same beach. And I was supposed to have my cousin and sister-in-law come with me, but they've had to cancel. Would you and your daughter like to join me?
I love it. Yeah.
And we went to that very same beach. She said we went to the beach and then we did on the same day. So, these are things, where do people get their intuitions from? But, you know, dreams are one way that we can be shown. And I'm very sorry about the Alexa.
Oh, don't worry about it. All kinds of things happen on this podcast, so don't worry about it. Yeah, it's just fascinating, and I'm definitely, because we can be as tuned in and tapped in as much as we want to be or believe to be.
Yeah.
Um, The other one that I've experienced, and I know that I've been awake, but people say no, it's called some sleep freeze or whatever it's called,
Sleep paralysis.
sleep paralysis. But where now I'm actually knowing that I'm awake. So what, like I've been held down.
Yes, I actually, right. So if you talk to the scientists, they will say that you're having sleep paralysis. And this is kind of the area where they will talk about night terrors as well as being
Mm-hmm.
connected to sleep paralysis. So when we fall asleep, there's a mechanism in our body that stops our body from moving, because otherwise, like some people, we'd all be getting up and sleepwalking. We'd all be, if we dreamt that we were making dinner, we'd be in the kitchen messing about with pots and pans while we slept.
Mm-hmm.
So we have this mechanism that stops us moving about. And for some people, you can be conscious, but that sleep paralysis mechanism has kicked in. And so you're semi awake, but you're not able to move your body. But then I've had that experience, and it very much was a spiritual attack.
That's what I felt.
And yeah, and I do believe that there can be different scenarios. I don't believe that every sleep paralysis moment is a psychic attack, and I don't believe every psychic attack is going to be accompanied by sleep paralysis.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I do feel that sometimes in my situation, it was actually a, shall we say, non-corporeal entity that was trying to drain my life essence. And I
Yeah.
was very aware of this. And I was in quite a lot of fear because I wasn't as well developed in my psychic defense skills then as I am now. And so I didn't really know what to do. And I could actually see, like, what would they call it? Ectoplasm, like grey mist. I could see that this was using my energy to take form.
Yes.
And I live in a haunted house at the time, so I wasn't hugely surprised, but it still was a very unpleasant experience. And then I sort of called my resources and I said a prayer, and it stopped just like that. When I realized that I had some power in the situation, it stopped. And actually, it was a very empowering moment for me because it never happened again once I realized that I had the power to stop it.
Love that. It's
Do
happened to
feel,
me twice, but I
yes,
have been fully awake before it happened,
yes,
right? Not I woke up because of it. I was actually, my ex-partner gave me a kiss. I actually got up. And then I went back and I could see his lights, like, the tail light, his lights, because it was 4 o'clock in the morning because he had to be down in Sydney, to start work by a certain time because he was a builder. And I'm thinking, because what I was going is get the fuck off me. But it actually did frighten me the first time because I wanted to call out to him and I couldn't. But I had been up and I had not gone back to sleep. We're talking seconds.
yeah.
So I don't believe that it was sleep paralysis that
No.
time, the other time.
And those energy beings, they need you to be awake when that's happening, because
Hmm.
what they're feeding off is the emotion, it's a fear. If you don't have the fear, there's nothing to feed off.
Exactly. Well, I soon learnt that. And I've had experiences recent to that, and I don't actually fear. I'm quite confident in saying my words are usually be gone, you're not welcome here.
Mine might be a little bit more blue, but shorter and to the point.
Well, yes, I can too, and I was not saying that how I would say it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it works. It really does when you're
Yeah.
confident and you're safe within yourself and you trust yourself. Yeah, it's really powerful.
Yeah.
That was what I thought of when you were talking about lucid dreams and something else, and I said I would
Oh, I
come back.
remember there's something else now, visitation dreams.
Visitation dreams, that's it.
Although I don't consider this a visitation dream, because technically I don't consider it a dream anyway.
No, neither do I. Yeah, I
Yeah.
get you. Yeah.
I can see why people would relate it though, for sure. Visitation dreams, we can actually call them in. But quite often, if a loved one has passed over,
Mhm.
we might get someone that visits us at different points in our life, maybe recently after they pass, just to say, "Hi, I'm okay. Don't worry about me." Even I've had this even with pets.
Yes, me
Pets
too.
come to me and let me know I'm okay, and just see them surrounded with this beautiful white light, and then, one of my dogs tail wagging and just looking extremely happy.
Mhm.
Um, but I've had it with people too that have just let me know,
Mhm.
"Hey, everything's okay." But then also where, it might be many decades since that person's passed, and they will pop in and say hello.
Yeah.
And those visitation dreams are usually the ones that have that deeper quality. It's a more, I don't know quite the words to describe it, but you can just tell it's more real.
Yeah, I feel that too, because definitely when my mum passed, I had lots of dreams in the beginning, and it was conversations. It was almost like we weren't quite complete. And even now, she's there. Like she'll come into my dreams, and it's like, "Hi, Mum, it's so good to see you." Because sometimes I talk to her, when I'm pottering around, or especially when I'm driving, and if I'm really struggling, and I'm, just saying, "Oh, Mum, I wished you were just here. I just need your hug or to talk." And then, a dream, she'll come in my dreams, or sometimes I mean, it's different to a dream, but I can feel her, and I know that I'm conversing with her and she's hearing me too. But yeah, I love those visitation dreams.
Well, I feel that they often happen because when we're asleep, our conscious defenses that are blocking things out and going, "That's not real," you know, aren't as active because we're
Mm.
receptive to the subconscious, we're more accessible to spirit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's why we have those dreams. But the my other favorite type of visitation dream is whether it's angelic, fae, or guides, our spirit guides. We can actually request a dream. We can seed a dream. Uh, Seeding a dream is where we set an intention and we request a dream. So we can say, "Look, I'm really struggling with this issue in my life right now, and I'd really like a chat with one of my guardians or one of my guides, or a particular type of being that's going to give me guidance and help me forward." And
Mm-hmm.
more often than not, you will find that you do get a dream. Now, sometimes the angel might not appear as an angel in that dream. It might be just a random person in the dream who gives you that bit of advice, but there
Mm-hmm.
will be again, that different quality to the dream. And you can also just have problem solving dreams. So there are dreams that people have had that have led to discoveries in arts and sciences and, all sorts of wonderful things. So things like um, the structure of atoms, the periodic table, the structure of DNA, all of these things were helped by dreams that those scientists had.
Yes.
There's songs,
Fascinating.
literature, like Jekyll and Hyde was based on a dream, so our
Mm.
dreams can often be the thing that sparks an invention, a solution, a scientific discovery. And so if you have an issue that you're dealing with and you want to find a solution, you can say, "How do I do this thing?" Or,
Mm.
"This is a problem I'm struggling with. When I wake up in the morning, I'd like an answer."
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. And
And that's
it's,
helpful.
sorry, go on.
No, no, it's just it's something that really can push through even our evolution as a species, and in terms of our knowledge, it's been backed by the ability to dream.
Yes, yes. And I love that you brought up about seed dreams, because I actually do that. And remember Bethany?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Bethany and I did a whole series of talks on dreaming. We called ourselves the Dream Team.
Oh, how fantastic. Well, I've got her journal, and instead of writing my dreams in it, I write intentions in it, and I call it my dream seed journal, and it's something that I recommend to people as well, like when I do my challenges, it's like that's one of the things I bring in, and it's like write down your intention and go to sleep with it and say it a few times, use an oil to relate to it. And yeah, I love that you brought that up. So, my lovely, wow, that is um been fascinating. I love it. Really
It's
love it.
one of those topics we probably could sit and here and talk all day about.
I think
Um,
so.
I think if there's anything that I would want to add about dreams and dream symbolism, and you kind of referenced this earlier when you were talking about, looking in a book and saying, what does a snake mean? What does a this mean? What does
Mm,
that mean?
mm,
Context is everything. So it's going to be based on your personal experiences, your culture, your references. So the perfect example is a black cat. Okay,
mm,
so some people consider black cats lucky from
mm-hmm,
tradition and so on. Other people consider black cats very unlucky. And then
mm-hmm.
some people will have a black cat called Fluffy, and they'll have a personal experience with that black cat. So when a person dreams of a particular symbol, it isn't just what does this dream symbol mean? It's what does it mean to the person,
Yes,
mean
that's,
to me, because that's always going to add a different dimension to it.
and I'm glad
So
you brought that up.
yeah,
Yeah.
because our religion, our culture, our social experiences, everything is going to add flavor to those archetypes and symbols.
Mm,
So although dream dictionaries, symbol dictionaries, can be a starting point, when you're trying to work with your own dreams, say, what does this symbol mean to me? And that's a really good place to start.
mm-hmm, mm. Yes, what does it mean to you? And also, like, snake comes to mind, where a lot of people fear snakes, where for me it's about shedding the old and transforming. So perhaps like what I would say is don't think of it as being danger. It may have another message for you. So delve into
Exactly.
that. Don't immediately think the worst. I mean, it might
Absolutely.
be danger,
I
but
mean, I mean, the snake is an incredible symbol because it has so many layers. There's
mm,
biblical layers, but it's often associated with sexuality, with
yes.
wisdom, with renewal. There's so many aspects of what does a snake mean, and this is true for pretty much everything.
Mm,
Um, there's layers of meaning. So it's like when you read tarot cards, you're not reading one card in isolation, you're reading it together with all the other cards. In a
yes.
dream, you're not just looking at the one symbol, you're looking at the combination of symbols. And also, how did you feel in that dream? What was the emotion?
Mm-hmm.
What were the colors? Is it night? Is it day? Are you inside? Are you outside? What are the elements? And bring the sensual to it. Did you smell anything? Did what were the feelings, the senses, the whole thing? Because we can have the tiny snippet of dream, and there is so much information packed into that one little snippet.
Absolutely. It's exactly how I talk about if I'm taking a group through visualization, and perhaps it's from my aromatherapy and perfumery. It's like smell it, taste it. Do you see colors? Do you see symbols? And when I used to lecture in aromatherapy, it was always put the textbooks away. That's there. We have to teach you that. But one of the exercises I used to get my students to do, and I'm not meaning to go off, but it was just so similar to what you were saying, is explore an oil and
Yes.
really feel into it. Because I will know if you've used a textbook. Because it would be an assignment, and it's like, I will know, and you can present that to me in any way that you want to. So I got a whole range of these amazing, some people did cooking.
Oh,
Uh,
amazing.
yeah, and poems and collages, and anyway, I'm going off track, but it was just like, yeah, you delve into every aspect, and even perhaps when you're going to sleep, being conscious of that you want to remember the
Yeah,
signs and symbols and smells and tastes that came to you, but perhaps put that intention in as well.
absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
The more vivid you can recreate that dream as you're breaking down the symbols, the more information that you will get out of it. But it
Yeah.
starts off with, how did I feel?
Yes, absolutely. How did I feel? Yeah, love it. Oh, Mel, this has been so good. I can't wait to have you back when we do tarot.
Oh, that was so much fun. And
Oh,
and
absolutely.
actually, to me, the reason that I've always been able to interpret dreams is because I've been reading tarot from a very young age, and it is exactly the same language.
Yeah, I agree with actually with a lot of things that we use for divining or receiving messages, looking for answers, whatever it may be. They do come to the same back to the same source, don't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, my darling, I'm going to put your contact details in. So perhaps just before we go, just spend 30 seconds on if you've got an offer or want to share anything else with our audience. But I'll definitely have all your links down.
Okay. I don't have any specific offers at the moment. If anyone is interested in learning tarot, do get in touch, because I would like to put together another course, but it requires numbers. So
I'll be
anyone who
interested.
learns tarot,
Sorry.
oh, brilliant, okay. And I do readings, tarot readings. I also do a lot of energy work, which is kind of based, it's similar to dream work, except a person is awake and it's through visualization. And it's an energetic connection. And then there's the dream work as well. So any of those services can be booked on my website and using my calendar. All the links are there. And if there's something else you want to discuss that's maybe not covered by my services, but you think I can help, please get in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's fantastic. And just thinking back to tarot, I mean, I've studied tarot several times over the last 27 years, but I'd still like to do courses on it because it's not my forte.
Well, I use one of the things that we'd probably find quite interesting to discuss, and maybe next time we could discuss this, is I use a very different astrological system
Mm.
with tarot readers. So I don't follow the Rider-Waite-Smith
Yeah.
tarot or
Mhm.
the Golden Dawn. Um, it's far more simplistic, but I think for me it's a lot clearer. So that might be something that would interest you.
Yes, indeed, indeed, indeed. Well, that sounds fantastic, and we'll book that in. And thank you so much, gorgeous. You're going to get on with your day, and I'm going to be relaxing and making some dinner because we're on opposite sides of the world. So,
We are. Well, this is the amazing thing about technology, that we're able to connect in this way. And it's been so much fun, Julie. Thank you.
oh, for me too. I loved it. Very, very clear and informative. So thanks, Mel.
Thank you.
Um, very easy to understand. And thank you to our audience for once again popping in. And remember to love us up, share, like. If you have a question, by all means ask, and I can pass it on to Mel and share it back with you, or you can reach out or reach in with Mel, connect in with Mel and ask her. But yeah, I would love your help in spreading the word for this podcast. So, on that note, I'm going to say ta-ta, and we'll see you again soon. Bye. Thank you for joining us on the enchanting journey through the realms of magic, mystique, and self-discovery. I hope you enjoyed our time together on the Rich Witch podcast, where we delve into the depths of witchcraft, astrology, and the unapologetic rise of women. Please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. And as we wrap up, I encourage you to carry the wisdom and magic we've shared into your own life. Embrace the power within you and revel in the beauty of your own unique journey. Stay tuned for more magic, and in the meantime, stay curious and know your magic is a gift to the world. Blessed be, beautiful ones, and remember, the magic is always within you. This is Julie Nelson, signing off.